Hey ladies, it's Kristen. Coming to you live with a little video today about marketing. Woohoo! All of our favorite things, I know. Um, this is something that I know for a lot of us can seem really scary. And so I want to talk about how we can do it in a way that feels good to us and that we enjoy and that gets us results, which means clients plus income, because that's really why we're doing what we're doing is to help people and obviously to make money, which is really important because we need money to keep our business running and to obviously be living the fabulous lives that we want to be living. So if anyone's on and you want to say hello, or if you have any questions as I'm going, let me know. I'd love to know who's on. So to get started, I did a post today in the Facebook group, and it's something that I've said a couple times, but I think it's really helpful, really, really, really helpful to be able to switch the way that you're thinking about marketing from selling, which is what a lot of us think of it as. And we think about selling, we think, ooh, it's icky, it feels pushy, it feels salesy, it feels, not really genuine. Instead to think about what we're doing, selling, coming at it from an aspect of thinking it as serving. How can I serve people? How can I help people? And hi, Tegan. So excited you're here, and thank you for joining. So when you think of it as coming from serving, it really changes your energy behind the actions that you're doing. Because if you're feeling icky about putting things out there because you feel like you're selling and you're feeling, pushy, that's putting negative energy behind the things that you're putting out there, or behind your words, or behind the conversations that you're having with people. And people are going to pick up on this, whether you realize it or not, and whether you even realize that you're putting out that negative energy. And it makes a huge difference in your results. But if you think about what you're doing from a standpoint of how am I serving people, or how can I serve this person that's in front of me right now, maybe it is through your coaching services, maybe it's through something else, maybe connecting them with someone else. So when you come from that point of how can I serve this person, it really changes the energy behind what you're doing to a positive, expansive energy. And this allows you to be getting the results that you want to be getting, and it allows people to want to work with you or feel interested in what you have to offer. So it's really all about that energy behind things. So this is number one standing point, the energy behind your actions of marketing. So when this is on point and aligned, it really, really helps with whatever efforts that you're putting out there to market yourself. So I wanted to put that out there. And then I also want to talk about, a lot of people get really confused when they start their business and feel overwhelmed and don't know where to start. So this usually leads to two different things that I see and have experienced both of them. So the first one is overwhelm or analysis paralysis, which is where you feel like, oh my gosh, there's like a million things I could be doing. I could be doing this, I could be doing that. But I really don't even know where to start. And I'm just so overwhelmed with things that I am not going to take any action at all. And I'm just going to hide. And maybe you're working on your website. Maybe you're, working on your copy, making content, making some sort of group program. But all the actions that you're taking are behind the scenes, and no one is really hearing about what you're doing or how you can help them. So that's what I like to call analysis paralysis. And Sandra says she can relate. Yes, Sandra, I have been there, so I definitely know how that goes. And then the other thing is where you feel like you're just pushing, and you're doing like all this random shit to market yourself, but you have you're not really getting any results. Like you're doing videos, you're like, okay, I'm out there, I'm like doing live videos, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm blogging, I'm sending out newsletters, I'm doing all this stuff that I feel like I should be doing or I've been told to do by other people, business coaches, whatever. But I'm not getting any results. I'm like spending all this time. I feel like I'm working on my business all the time, but I don't have anything to show for it. I don't have any clients. I'm not getting any income coming in my business. And I hear this from people all the time. I hear this from people who have been in their business for like a year or over a year, and that they've been at this point where they feel like they're working really hard, and they're doing all this, taking all this action, but the action they're taking is not getting them results. So, when this is happening, I want to tell you, like, it's not that you're not trying hard enough or that the content that you're putting out there isn't good or that people aren't interested in it. The problem usually is that you don't really have a good plan as far as how your marketing is working. And the other thing is your messaging might be off. So a lot of times it's not specific enough, or it's not really speaking to who your ideal client is. And so when this is happening, you can be doing all the marketing in the world, but you're not getting any results. So, and I'd say the one other thing that can be behind that is the energy, like I was talking about before. So if you're feeling icky about what you're putting out there, and you're worried people are going to think you're salesy or pushy, instead of coming from that place of serving, which is, like a good expansive energy, then everything you're putting out there has that energy behind it. So you want to come from a spot where you're feeling really good about what you're putting out there. So I want to go through and talk about how you can figure out your marketing. How can you come up with a plan that, feels good to you, works for you, allows you to get your message out there? Like, what are the key points that you should be looking at? And how do you really get started with figuring this out? So, 100%, it's super important to have a plan with your marketing and not to just do random stuff. And then the other thing, to know how your marketing works from the start to the finish. So how does someone go from first finding you, coming across your content, to actually becoming a paying client? Because you can be putting out all this great content and be getting tons of likes and, people are interacting with your stuff. But if none of those people are becoming clients, that isn't really helping you. You're putting, you might be entertaining people and they might be getting some valuable information, but those people aren't actually becoming clients and they're not actually getting the help that they really need. So most people, need that support through working with a coach to really be making long-lasting transformation. So you're helping people by allowing them to know that they can actually sign up to work with you and you can help them get the results that they want. So, like I said, it's just shifting it from thinking about selling and making it all about you pushing something on someone to instead you serving someone, you're helping someone, you're making a huge difference in your life, in those people's lives. And I just know personally from being coached myself that coaching is super powerful, and it's changed my life. I know it changes the lives of my clients. And so, to feel really good about that and to really stand behind, the power of what you're doing and know that it's really, really important. So I'm going to go through some steps that you can go through yourself when you're coming up with your marketing plan. So step number 1 is ideal client. Before you start marketing, please, 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 please know who your ideal client is. Like, this is so important. And what happens is a lot of people are way too general with their ideal client, so that they're afraid of leaving people out and they want to help everyone. And this is good. Like, yes, we want to help everyone. But a lot of times by trying to help everyone, you end up helping no one because your message becomes so diluted, so general that no one is really connecting with it. So it's the difference from saying, I help people get healthy, and you're like, okay, that's great. Or I help women who are struggling with, binge eating and body image, and they want to have a healthy relationship with food and feel good about their body. Like, that's so much more specific, and people are going to really resonate with that. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, like, I need help with that. So the more specific you can get, the better. And a lot of times we feel like we're getting too specific and we're like, oh my gosh, Tegan's saying guilty. I've been guilty of that too. And so it's really important. The more specific you can get, the better. Especially online. If you're mainly growing your business in person, you can afford to be a little more general. But once you get online, you're in front of potentially millions of people. You need to get really, really specific, because there's so many people out there that if you're general, no one is really going to be drawn to your specific message. So important to be really, really specific. I think I said that like 10 times, but it's important. And the biggest things to know about your ideal client is what are their pain points? So what is it that they're struggling with? And to know this inside and out, to actually get into the head of your ideal client, super important. And to know what it is that your ideal client wants more than anything. Like, what do they want the end results to be? And to really get into this too, like to even get into the nitty-gritty details about how, when they get this thing that they think they want, it's going to change their life. Because when you can speak to these really, really deep things, this is what's going to resonate with people. So a lot of times it's about more than just what seems like the surface issue, and we know that, and you need to be speaking to the solution that they want. So if they think it's about their food, or they think it's about their body image or their weight, you need to speak about that, but you also want to speak about how that issue is impacting their life, and that you can help them with that. And that's what people get really excited about, is, how it's going to change their lives. So that's ideal client and your messaging. Both super important. Once you know your ideal client, then you can get really specific with your messaging and really, really speak to that person. They're going to resonate with it. They're going to connect with it. And it's going to make them feel connected to you and what you're saying, and be interested in learning more and wanting to work with you. So Tegan, let me just see what you're saying here. Using the concept of mirroring. Would my ideal client's pain points mirror your own? Yeah, so good question. For most of us, our ideal client is a version of us. So most health coaches have been through their own health issues, or through their own, personal, emotional, spiritual journey, and want to help people with the same things that we've struggled with. So a lot of times our ideal client is a version of us, usually a mirror of us. So when I go through and I have people fill out, information about their ideal client, so that we can get really specific about speaking to this person and marketing to this person, you're actually writing from the voice of I. And a lot of times people are filling this out and they're like, well, I just answered this according to my own personal experiences in the past. And that's okay, because what you'll find out is that a lot of us feel the same way and experience the same things. And by speaking to this, those people are going to really connect with you. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, is she, in my head? How does she know I'm feeling like this? How does she know this is happening for me? And you'll be surprised that so many of us experience the exact same things and feelings. It's kind of crazy, because we always think we're all alone experiencing these things. So, so you can really mirror what is going on for you typically, or what has gone on for you in the past is the same thing that's gone on for your ideal client. So, definitely. So once you know who this ideal client is, then you can look at figuring out, okay, and you've come up with your messaging and you know how to speak to that person. Start there before you do anything else, because otherwise anything you put out there is just kind of usually wasted effort, because you're not really speaking to anyone specific. But next you want to figure out, okay, where is my ideal client? Like, where is this person hanging out? Can I reach them online? Can I reach them in person? What type of groups are they hanging out in? What are they interested in? Who do they like online? And once you know where this person is and how you can get in front of them, then you can come up with a marketing strategy. So it doesn't make sense to be, tweeting and posting on Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook and, wherever else in the world you could be, if that's not where your ideal client is hanging out. So, find out where that person is spending most of their time. And then you can figure out, where does it make sense for me to be targeting this person? And I think a lot of us forget about the fact that we can do in-person networking too, or we're scared of it, or we don't want to do it. And I've been there. I've done a lot of in-person networking in the past. It was actually with my past business. And I just recently did my first networking event actually this week here in Denver. And because of, my experiences in the past, I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. But I did it, and I loved it. And whether it's really going to help me get clients or just going to help me get friends, which I met like 3 people that I already have plans with, which is awesome. I think not to shy away from in-person networking, because it can be a really great way to grow your business. So keep that in mind, and I'm going to come back to that and talk about it a little more, probably in the next one or coming up. But so just know that it's an option to do in-person and online marketing. And depending on certain things, one might be better than the other for you, or maybe some sort of mix between both. So another thing to keep in mind is what are your strengths, your interests, what things do you really enjoy doing? Because I hear this a lot, and I've been there too, where your marketing feels icky or boring, or like you're pushing, or just really unenjoyable. And when this happens, your business starts to feel like a drag. You spend a lot of time marketing. I'm going to be upfront about that. Like, I spend a lot of time marketing, and everyone does in their business. Like, it's just, you have to. It's an important part of your business. So it has to be doing things that you actually enjoy. Otherwise, you're gonna not enjoy your business, and you're gonna dread it, and you're not gonna want to do the things that you need to do to get clients. So some people really like writing. Some people like art. Some people like poetry. Some people love giving speeches or talks, or doing some sort of groups or meditation, or fitness events, like whatever it is that you are, like a webinar, you can do podcasts, you could interview people. Like, think about what it is that you really like doing and how you can bring that into your business and your marketing, because you want it to feel good for you. You want it to feel exciting. You want it to feel like something that you look forward to doing. Otherwise, like I said, a lot of us will get to a place where we just stop marketing, or we're not doing it very consistently, because we're like, oh, I don't like it. It feels icky. It's, boring, not enjoyable. So you want to make sure you're doing things that you enjoy. And there's so many options for marketing that don't feel like you have to be doing things just because someone else is doing it. Just because it worked for someone else does not mean that it's the best fit for you. For example, like, I love photography, and I love nature, and I love getting outside. So I like to use that in my marketing, which, if you've been following me, I'm sure you're aware of. But, I love to use awesome pictures in nature in a lot of my marketing. So I do that. And I used to hate doing videos, and they scared the crap out of me. Now I actually enjoy them. So I do that too. And like I said, now I'm adding in, I was starting to feel like I was having a bit of a relationship with my computer, and was really craving some in-person connection. So I'm looking into adding that too. So, I think being willing to play with things and try things out and see what you like is important. So then the next one, and this goes into figuring out how you want to market to, is knowing what type of lifestyle you want, and also taking into account. Yeah, Sandra's saying that she's getting more comfortable with videoing. Yeah, that's good. When I first started, I was so scared of doing my first video, but it's gotten so much easier, and I still get a little nervous, but it's actually something I enjoy. And I think when you're talking, you can be a little more free and really tap into your intuition sometimes, instead of when you're writing, which is a little more, where you think you have to think about it a little bit more. So I think videos and when you can just talk is an awesome way to connect with people and to get your message out there. So going back to lifestyle, knowing what type of lifestyle you want, and also I think keeping into account like where you're living and what that situation is, can make a difference as far as figuring out your marketing, especially whether it's in person, online, or a combination. So when I started my business, I was living in Madison, Wisconsin, which it's a fairly big city, but I really didn't have much of a connection there with different health coaches. There isn't a very big population of them there. So I had tried some in-person networking, and it just didn't really seem to make sense because I wasn't really connecting with those people. So I really made my business online, and I also knew at the time that I was planning on moving. So I'm now currently in Denver, but I didn't know where I was going to be going, but I just knew that I wanted to move. So I didn't want to really build up like a big in-person networking thing when I knew I was going to be moving. So I started my business solely online without any in-person networking. And if you live out in the sticks somewhere and you don't really have like a community there that you can reach, or it's not really your ideal client isn't around you, like maybe they don't really are interested in health coaching services or don't really have the money to put into it, know that you can use online to really reach people that are further away from you and that would be your ideal clients, because you can reach all over. And the other thing is important to me. Like I love traveling, and I really like the freedom and flexibility of being able to work from anywhere. So, I knew it was important to have a business that was mostly online for me. So even if I am adding in the in-person networking, my business is going to be based online so that I have that freedom and flexibility. And I'll still be working with people either over Skype or over the phone. So I think knowing that you have these different options and really being able to find what works for you is super important. Yeah, and Sandra said that the video is feeling authentic, and that's awesome. Yeah, whatever marketing you're doing, it should feel authentic, and it should be your message and, feel really good to you. And that's something that's been a bit of a journey for me too. And I think if I can tell you one piece of advice as far as making your business really authentic, is to stop looking what everyone else is doing online, because it drives you crazy, especially for those of us who are more sensitive. We pick up on like all this stuff, and it can be really hard to find your own message, to find your own branding when you're so into what everyone else is doing, and you think, oh my God, I have to be doing it that way. Look what that person's doing. They're so much further ahead of me. It's like crazy making. So I realized this, and I had to go through and like really protect myself. Sandra says, yes, she gets it. Yeah, most of the people I work with are more introverted, sensitive, and that's how I am. And so I think we have to really take that into account when we're running our businesses. So, I have to protect my energy. I have to make sure that my marketing isn't like I'm all over the place all the time like a crazy person, because I can't do that. Like I get tired, exhausted. So it has to be simple and straightforward. And that's what works for me. And that's really what I what I teach people, because I know most of the people I work with are looking for something simple as well. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. I don't love like online marketing crazy stuff. Like, I want something that's simple and straightforward. And I think that's important, so that you aren't spending all day glued to your computer, like trying all this crazy marketing stuff. So Okay, so one other thing I want to say, and I talked about this a little bit in the beginning. Hold on, I have a question from Mallory. Is there a line between having freedom to do local networking and working online and being able to leave for a couple of weeks at a time here and there and having some of your clients work with you over? Yeah, so great question, Mallory. So she's wondering if, what the line is between doing local networking and how that will impact your ability to have a location independent business. And so, as I was saying before, like in my own situation, I do most of my marketing online, but I have done some in-person marketing, especially recently. And I did work with one person locally in Madison too, but we did all of our calls over the phone. Or you could do them over Skype, depending on if they're in the US or not. So I have taken quite a few month-long trips where I was traveling around the US to all different places. And even if you're traveling out of the country, this would work too. I've worked from Mexico before as well. And really, you could work from anywhere. But I think as long as you keep your appointments with your clients over the phone or over Skype, which is what I definitely prefer, because if you're having to meet with people in person, there's just a lot more time and energy that goes into that. So you have to think about, I have to get ready, I have to get presentable, I can't be sitting in my pajamas, I need to drive somewhere and meet someone, and I have to have a place to meet them. Like, there's a lot more that goes into meeting someone in person. So I think even if you're doing in-person networking, which I think is an awesome thing to do, especially if you have a good community around you that is interested in what you have to offer. Because when people get to see you and meet you and feel your energy and see your personality, people are feel a lot more connected to you. So obviously in person is like one of the strongest networking things or marketing things that you could do. And next probably is video, because people get to see you, and, but the more you kind of get away from actual in person, the less personalized it is. And so usually it takes a little longer for those people to become actually, clients, because there's a little more separation there. So absolutely 100%, if you do in-person networking, those people you can take your business and go on the road with it, and you're fine. I've done it many times, and I've never had any issues with it at all. As long as you're somewhere where you have internet access, you're good to go. So, and if anyone has any other questions, let me know too. There was a few other things I wanted to talk about. Let me just look at my notes. Okay, so I mentioned this in the beginning, but I want to mention it again because a lot of people miss this. Knowing how your marketing works from the beginning to the end. And this can be called your sales funnel, if I bring in these quotes, which I really don't like that terminology. But what this means, and if you're hearing this, is what is the process that your client goes through from first finding you or connecting with you to becoming an actual paying client. And you have to know that process, because otherwise you can be doing all this marketing. Like I said, you could be getting a lot of likes, you can be putting all this content out there, but those people aren't becoming clients. So when that's happening, you have to be like, okay, wait a minute. Like, I'm doing all this stuff. Like, how are these people actually going to become a paying client? And you want to have a system in place or a process in place that works for you to have these people become paying clients. So that's really, really, really important, and definitely something that I help people figure out. And I don't think that there's one right way to do this. So a lot of people are like, sales funnel, like just copy what I did and you can do it. And this doesn't work. You really have to figure out what works for you. There are tools that generally work for everyone, but I really do think this is about, really being authentic and finding what works for you and how you really like connecting with people. For me, like, I love connecting with people one-on-one, so I always like try to bring things into a way that are going to allow me to do that, because that's how I feel that I can best communicate, how I can help people. So know the process, from start to finish, because that's super important. So I think that's all. I think one more thing. Consistency. Consistency and having a plan. And having a plan allows you to be consistent. But these are where a lot of people drop the ball with their coaching business, because you're your own boss. You're coming up with your schedule. You're the one that's making everything happen. So if you're not being consistent with things and really treating it like a business, you're not going to be getting those results. So it's really important. So like, even when I am, not if I'm like taking a vacation or whatever, but if I, like I took a month-long road trip, like I still had to be marketing and stuff while I was gone, because if I stop, I'm going to stop getting clients. Like, you have to be marketing. So you want to be consistent with things, and you want to have a plan that you can follow, and that is going to work for you and help you continue to bring in those clients. Sandra says she's not very consistent, but getting better. And same, when I started my business, I was like all over the place. And, I've definitely gotten a lot more consistent with things. I still could be way more consistent. I'm not a huge planner. I'm not one of those people who's like, has my big schedule written out and I go by things like step by step. I've always been a little more spontaneous. So I take that into account, but I also have a plan. Because if you don't, you get to every day and you're like, oh my gosh, what should I be doing? And you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. So you end up doing nothing, or you end up surfing the web for many hours and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember what I was trying to do. So a plan, yes, as Sandra says, like a plan, you need a plan. And you can be, depending on, your style, either have a plan that's a little more fluid and flexible, or a plan that's, a little more strict, and, you can find what works for you. But it definitely helps to have a plan and to know, like, going into each day, what actions you're taking in your business ahead of time, so that you just know ahead of time, and then you can just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing today, and do it, as opposed to getting to the day and being like, oh, don't know what I'm doing. So, because I've been there and I get it. And that's what a lot of times leads to procrastination and surfing online, like I said, and doing a lot of the things that make us feel then kind of icky, and it kind of becomes this cycle. So if you just know, I'm doing these things, this is how it works, it can be more about taking action and more about you leading the way and doing the things that you need to be doing, instead of letting everyone else's stuff kind of dictate where you're going with things. So those are my biggest tips on marketing. Like I said, I think, being authentic with it, allowing your personality to shine through your marketing, not getting caught up in what everyone else is doing, not getting caught up in the idea that there's something, a certain way that you have to be doing things, or following someone else's, plan, because we're all different and we all have things that work, differently for us. I want to tell you this too. So a lot of times with marketing for me, when things weren't working, or when I wouldn't get the results or the likes or whatever, I would take things really personally. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, nobody likes me, something's wrong with me, I'm not good enough. All these things that were related to my marketing and the results I was getting. And, I've really learned that that is not the case, and that marketing can be complicated and it's a process. And you don't take things personally or think that like your stuff isn't good or that you're not good enough because you're not getting the results. Most likely you just need a little help with your marketing plan. And this is something I'm always working with. In fact, today I just had, a meeting with someone about my Facebook ads, because Facebook ads are complicated and I love them. And it's probably how most of you connected with me. Like, they've been awesome for growing my business, but they're complicated and I'm not a Facebook ad expert. So, I'm always learning from other people about how I can be using these tools to really grow my business. So you don't have to know it all. And you shouldn't try to do it all. Like, we can get help in these different areas of our business. And that's where business coaching comes in too. Like, why try to figure it all out on your own when you can have someone really just help you, walk you through the steps. So, I think that's huge too, asking for help when you need it, and not taking things personally as like, my stuff is crap or I'm not good enough or, whatever it is when you're not getting the results or I'm not trying hard enough. Like, that's not the case. Most likely you just need some help to see where things aren't working and what's keeping you stuck. And so something I was offering this week, and then I want to offer you guys if you're interested, it's a little mini business marketing makeover session. So if you're doing marketing, or you've been trying, or maybe you're in the beginning and you don't know where to get started, I'd love to kind of see what you're doing and help you see where you might be getting stuck and come up with a plan as far as moving forward. So totally free, but if you are interested in it, I'll put a link down below in the comments, or maybe it'll be up above. But Sandra signed up. Yay! I'm excited. So if you're interested, like I said, it's free. Like, I'd love to see what you're up to and see if we can get you moving forward. So, click on the link. You can pick a time that works well for you, and I look forward to helping you. So if anyone has any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope all you guys have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday, and I will talk with all of you soon. Bye.